Hey, this is Anand Shimpi of AnandTech.com, and you are looking at the home screen of the new Boxee Box by D-Link. The first thing I want to show you is actually the menu. There's no concept of a home button on the Boxee remote, so what you do have is a menu button. There's no way to get directly home, so if you're anywhere else in the Boxee UI, you hit the menu button, you get this, which lets you go to all of these, I call them hubs, that you see mirrored here on the main menu. The first thing I want to dive into is the thing that's supposed to really set Boxee apart. It's how it handles aggregation of video content on the web. So you go to the Shows hub. Again, the idea is that this is supposed to be the holy grail, right? Like you have all of this free video content on the web posted by all of the major networks. And in theory, if you could just aggregate it all together, you'd have no reason to have a cable TV subscription. Obviously, it doesn't really work like that in the real world. As I mentioned in the review, you don't get the majority of kind of content from NBC, Fox, CBS, what have you. Presumably, that's coming with the Hulu Plus subscription that'll be available later this year. But for now, this is what you got. You get some pretty good shows, right? You get The Daily Show, you get South Park, you got The Office, you do get Jersey Shore. So let's go and kind of show you a couple of examples of the best case scenario here and kind of the common scenario as well as the worst case scenario for watching streaming content through Boxee. You saw that it took a little while for some of this stuff to come up. If you scroll down far enough, you'll see it has to load some of this stuff on the fly. This does have to do with the kind of performance issues I was talking about in the review. We're connected over Wi-Fi right now, and you'll notice that Wi-Fi performance is actually lower than Ethernet. And I'm not really sure why that is, since we're not maxing out the internet connection in any case. Anyways, let's start with South Park. So South Park is kind of the ideal scenario for Boxee, and you'll get what I mean in a second here. You select the show, you've got tons of episodes organized by season, and again, all of this, I didn't have to do a thing, right? Boxee just went out, grabbed the stuff from southparkstudios.com, and just kind of categorized it for you. So let's watch the latest episode right here. Okay, so this is perfect. The system actually restarted itself, and I was hoping that this would happen because this does actually happen when just using the Boxee Box. It doesn't happen super regularly, but enough where it is noticeable. And all I did there was I started with the Boxee Box and did the demo that you saw, and then it rebooted itself. So this does happen from time to time. It is an indication that this product is a work in progress. So you will have to deal with the occasional restart and things like that. So anyways, let's get back to the South Park demo. So we've got season 14, episode 14. You can see this aired on November 17th. You click on it. It tells you where the content's located. If we had a local copy, it would also tell me that there's a local copy here, or if there were other websites that had it offered, it would tell me those websites as well. You can choose to watch it later. It'll just add it to your watch later queue. You can choose to share it, and it'll send it to other Boxee users who may follow you. So let's go ahead and watch it. There's an initial loading process, which again, as I mentioned in the review, it's not super quick. Right? If you're expecting this to be as fast as your PC or as your notebook, it's just not going to happen. And I mentioned again that this is the ideal scenario because you'll see once we clicked on it and once it starts buffering and starts loading, it takes us directly into a full screen South Park experience. Of course, it's going to start with an ad. This is ad-supported content, but the point I'm trying to make here is that it starts just as a cable TV station would, right? You go straight into the content. You don't have to deal with anything else. What you're seeing now is actually an ad, but you're actually not seeing it on the screen. This is a bug that does happen from time to time. If I back out of the full screen mode, you'll actually see the ad running here in the browser. We were just getting a black screen. That's another thing that does happen from time to time on Boxee. I've actually seen it a lot with this Lexus ad for whatever reason. Remember, Boxee isn't fundamentally controlling content here. They're simply taking what exists and trying to package it in a way that hides all of this stuff. So anyways, had that not happened, you would have gone straight into the content. We've got a South Park ad here, and all is good in the world. Now, like I said, this is the best case scenario, right? You do get functionality such as play and pause. I don't believe fast forward is going to work here. So we're paused, and let's try and fast forward. No, fast forward doesn't work here. And again, that's not a Boxee problem. That's just a problem with the underlying embedded Flash video player. And we got another add or reboot? No, we're just buffering. Okay, so that's the best case scenario, right? You're dropped into full screen content. Had the ad issue not been there, we would have been good to go. This would have kind of been like a really slow cable TV setup. Let's look at kind of the more common situation, because the unfortunate truth is the vast majority of content doesn't start out in full screen mode. So we're going to go to The Daily Show. It's provided on 2 different networks. We have Comedy Central and Fancast. For the point of this, for the purpose of this demo, I'm gonna pick Comedy Central. Now, note that Comedy Central hosts both South Park and The Daily Show, but content's different when the way the content's handled is different when you get to The Daily Show. So instead of going to the full screen kind of browser, we reboot it again. That's very good. Okay, so let's try this again. So we got The Daily Show. We're going to watch the Comedy Central version. We're buffering, or actually we're loading the web page in that case. And what happens is you're taken to the Comedy Central Daily Show website. And this is where the kind of curtain, where it gets pulled out a little bit. The problem is that if you don't have cable and you're trying to rely on a solution like Boxee, you can't just hand someone the remote and say, hey, I've got The Daily Show, you can watch it, because of situations like this. This is how the majority of online content does work on Boxee. Now, thankfully, Boxee has made it pretty simple to go from here to a full screen mode. All you do is hit the menu button. You'll see that the immediately highlighted widget is this little full screen icon. Hit that, and boom, we're full screen. So that's pretty simple, and the majority of content works that way. It's actually pretty nice, and you also still get the play and pause functionality directly from the remote. Again, you can't really fast forward, but that works. So we've done the best case scenario, we've done the kind of common scenario. Now let's look at worst case scenario. So worst case scenario, we're actually going to use the same Daily Show episode, but we're going to watch it over Fancast. So Fancast, for whatever reason, won't start out in full screen, nor will it let you have the ability to put it into full screen mode just by going to the main menu or going to the drop down menu. So you'll see if I hit the menu button, all we have is the share widget. We don't actually have the ability to take it full screen. Now Boxee has thought of this, and you'll notice that when we loaded the Fancast webpage, it repositioned the cursor over the full screen control in the embedded video player. So all I have to do is hit the center button on the remote, and we're full screen. So that's pretty clever, and I'm glad that Boxee invested the time into this. Unfortunately, it doesn't always work perfectly. I've had situations where the cursor was positioned in the wrong split, in the wrong place, or if you try to watch Conan, for example, or Conan, the embedded video window is too big on a 720p display, so the mouse cursor isn't ever in the right place. And in those situations, what you have to do is use the remote as a glorified mouse, basically. So you can see it moves in 4 directions. You don't get diagonal support. It's like an old school D-pad. So it is frustrating, and again, that does kind of fly in the face of how simple the rest of the interface is, right? If we go back here to just the organization of shows, you don't have to know what channel any of this stuff is on. All you have to know is, hey, you know, I like 30 Rock. And you click on it, and you've got all the episodes that you can get currently on the web, at least that are exposed through Boxee, organized by season. And that is all very, very simple, very, very clean. And when you start getting into these, dealing with the website and dealing with getting in and out of full screen and all the bugs that I mentioned in the review itself, it does kind of ruin some of the appeal. Now, I mentioned that, and you can also take this into a list view if you don't like the post review. I mentioned in the review that Boxee doesn't really differentiate between local and local network and web content. If you go to the show's hub by itself, the majority of what you're going to get is going to be web content. If you want, however, and you go to your files hub, you do get access to predominantly your local and shared content. You can attach things to the USB ports, or there's an SDMMC reader built into the Boxee Box, and you can use that as well. I have a couple of shares here, and you get the same kind of aggregation power off your home network. And again, Boxee does it very, very well. You don't really have to do anything. Just point it at the share and tell it what kind of content is there. So if you go to shows, these are the shows that I have access to on my local network, right? And if I click on 24 here, what you'll notice is these first two items here, episodes 26 and 25, these are, and actually I think those are not numbered correctly. These are actually web-based, right? They're all Fancasts. The rest of them in here are actually from my home network, but it lets you fill in the gaps, right? Say you have a certain number of episodes on your home network and the rest are kind of on the web. It does treat it as one whole collection of content under a particular show. It is pretty nice. The other things you get here under files are the ability to browse through photos and music, and I go into greater detail in that in the text review at anontech.com, but that's pretty much that. We also have apps, which is kind of surprising to me how many apps Boxee launched with, and understand that this project's been around for much longer than the Boxee Box has been. But you do get great things. You get Pandora, which is fully functional, will actually work in the background. You can add your own RSS feeds, which is how people actually keep up with content that isn't directly integrated into Boxee from day one. And then you do get stuff like Revision 3 and TED. The apps install really quickly. It's not really an application you install, but some scripts that basically package a bunch of videos for you. And we got another reboot there.